Upside down on a plate, but right side up in the heart. Let's make Ouma Mollie's upside down ginger cake. Let's start by melting our butter and sugar together. I've also opted for caramel sugar instead of brown sugar. And now I'm going to add my honey. If you don't have honey, you can also add syrup. Now this cake was always on the pudding table at family get-togethers. I've eaten it plenty of times when I was a child, but I've never made it myself. This is going to be my first try. So the recipe says 2 eggs, but I've added 4 just because the eggs that we get are really tiny and small. So if you get large eggs or extra large eggs, use only 2. If not, then use 4. I've melted my butter and sugar and honey in the microwave oven, and now I'm going to add my egg mixture. Make sure your sugar mixture is cooled down a bit before you add the eggs, otherwise you're going to end up with scrambled eggs. Now I had this cake last when I was about 7 or 8 years old. And apparently adulthood means you have to make the cake yourself. You know, some recipes aren't just food, they're family stories like this one. Now, let's mix together all our dry ingredients. I'm going to start off with my flour. Then I'm going to add in my ginger and also my bicarb of soda, and then also my fruitcake mix. If you want it to be more fruity, you're more than welcome to add more fruit and more ginger if you like it more spicy. Now I'm going to fold the dry ingredients into the egg mixture. I'm going to do this bit by bit. Now Ouma didn't play around with this recipe. This cake slaps harder than family gossip. Now because I'm using caramel sugar, my batter and my cake is going to be darker than the normal recipe if you use brown sugar. Now I'm going to use one of my latex pans to bake this in, and I'm putting a tray underneath, otherwise the pan gets a bit flimsy and floppy. First of all, I'm going to add my melted margarine, which is again my wooden spoon margarine, and then instead of brown sugar I opted again for caramel sugar. Make sure your sugar is spread all over the bottom of the dish. The recipe says you must use a square dish, but I went with a round dish because it was just easier for me. When going for a square dish, you will need 9 cherries and 9 peach halves. Now I'm covering each cherry with a peach half and I'm putting it cut size down. Oh, this looks delicious and it looks beautiful. Now I'm going to pour the batter all over my peaches, and I'm going to make sure that every part is covered properly. I'm going to bake this in the oven for 180 degrees for about 45 minutes. This also depends on your oven, so I suggest after 20 minutes check it and then check it again and again until the center is cooked. I also put tinfoil around my edges just to make sure it doesn't burn, because the cake cooks from the outside in. Now let's flip this cake. Now I went with my trusty old Tupperware cake dish because I couldn't find anything bigger, but this was still too small. But like Ouma said, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to be lekker. Leave the cake for approximately 5 minutes before you take it out. Look at how beautiful and delicious this looks. Now this was the first bite I had in about 40 years again, and suddenly I felt 7 again. Well, except now I have to pay bills. You can enjoy this with cream, with ice cream, with custard. I used evaporated milk, well, whatever your heart desires. One bite took me straight back to my childhood. It reminded me so much of Ouma. I really had to fight back the tears. And this was my first try. Ouma, I hope you're proud of me. If you enjoyed this video, like and follow for more family favorite recipes.